Hello and welcome to the United Stand. Paulo Dybala or Antoine Griezmann to Manchester United. Who would you prefer this summer to wear the number 7? Dybala today has come out and said, and this is further to what was said a few days ago by Pogba with his little Agent P, I think it was a happy birthday tweet or Insta. Dybala's come out today and said that he probably doesn't see his future at Juventus and that he misses Paul Pogba. He misses Dani Alves as well, but he'll be retired very, very soon. He misses Paul Pogba. Alves is a great character, but Pogba is a great footballer and a great friend, and he misses Paul Pogba. And with that same sentence, doesn't really see his future at Juventus. Well, interesting. Riola's spoken about it before. He has just signed a new contract. He would cost a lot of money. But Griezmann's good friends with Pogba as well. Is there something going on there? What would you prefer? Because if I told you over 40,000 people voted on our Twitter poll and 40% wanted Griezmann and 61% wanted Dybala, when you add into the fact that Mourinho is basically been offered a new contract and the grounds of that contract is that he will be given the funds to sign the players that he wants to sign. I think this number 7 at Manchester United being available for so long is a massive indicator that somebody would come in. Personally, I'm not going to dress this up anyway. I still would prefer Griezmann. I think Dybala is 24 now. I might have that wrong. He's 23. I think he's just turned 24 mid-November. Griezmann is 27 or 26, going to be 20. So there's a gap. There's a gap. But who is actually better? Who is better? Is it Dybala? Is it Griezmann? Who suits the Premier League better? Who suits Manchester United better? It's an interesting one. And I think this is the sort of thing that Manchester United are shopping at. And I'm sure some people will be saying, well, don't forget Alexis Sanchez. But I personally feel that Alexis Sanchez will end up at Manchester City. And to be honest, if you're asking, again, I'll be totally honest with you. Jared Pessman saying Dybala would be amazing, and Timo says Dybala's far better. I think there's a lot. Well, Haha Banter says Dybala, but I prefer Griezmann. Griezmann is not a snake and is an admiral for what he did at Atletico. Says Leo Orchard. You know what? We did the preview this afternoon. I'm much happier doing a sort of a more topical show on the 8 o'clock show because I think this really is a really good debate to have because I actually do think that we will end up getting one of those two players. I still think it will be Griezmann, and I can sort of see people why they would prefer Dybala. I mean, the thing with Griezmann as well is that £90 million is the price for Griezmann. Dybala just signed a new contract, not out of contract till 2022. I don't think there's a release clause in there. If there is, it'll be quite high. 90 million for Pogba 2 years ago. I think that when Juventus are looking at what the prices are out there, I think 150 million is probably quite likely. So, you know, I suppose you've got to add that into the equation. Yes, Dybala's younger. Maybe Dybala's a better player. But Griezmann at 90 million is an absolute bargain. And Dybala would probably cost 150 million. So, you know, you've got to factor that in as well. Anyway, Rodney's going to join me and we can get his opinion on it. But I just want to say, while it's connecting to Rodney there, a lot of people ask me about this tracksuit top all the time. I keep forgetting to do it, but the link is in the video description. If you want to get hold of a Manchester United training top stroke Jedi Sith Lord tracksuit top, which I was wearing for the 24-hour stream a lot at the weekend. A lot of people seem to like it. It's available in the link through the video description. That will take you directly to the Manchester United website, which is the best place to get it from. Worldwide, doesn't matter where you are, you can get it. So the link in the video description will get you this classy top, as modelled by me, with the old Jedi look as well. So Rodney, how you doing?
I'm alright, Mark, not too bad. I actually went to the dentist yesterday, so I'm a bit numb on one side still. But yeah, other than that, I'm, as they say, fighting fit.
Man up, Rodney. I went there this afternoon, so I'm still a little bit... And I'm there again tomorrow. My teeth are falling apart. It's a shame. But I was just talking about the Dybala or Griezmann. Dybala today coming out and saying that he doesn't see his future at Juventus and he really misses Paul Pogba and Dani Alves. But Pogba more because he's a friend, and Griezmann, we know it keeps going on and on. I mean, if you were in charge of Manchester United, which player would you prefer? Because I know you've been a bit negative about Griezmann because of how he's treated us.
Yeah, there's no secret that I've kind of, after the whole Griezmann, I could say, conundrum that he left us with, that I'm not a fan of Griezmann, and I'm not one that's going to jump on the bandwagon because he's having a hard time. But putting it down to the two players in terms of technique and what they offer, I would say they're quite similar. You know, age is quite close. But for me, I think Griezmann had his time. He had his purple patch, especially in the Euros. And I think it's now time for someone else to come along and shine. And I think Dybala is that person. And you don't, and you can even just look at the stats right now, where they are, what they've scored this year, their assists, their contribution to their team. And Dybala for me is running away with it right now. So I'd definitely go for him.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it is an interesting one, and we'll have to keep an eye on it. I still think Griezmann's very, very possible to United, and you know, personally, I still would go for Griezmann for a number of reasons. I think the price, and I think he would fit in with us really well. But if you're asking me who's the better player, I probably would say Dybala. But there's something about Dybala that I just don't really want to get excited about. I think it's too tough for United to do a deal like that. I think Dybala actually, even he was saying in that in those quotes today that he wants to push Neymar for Ballon d'Or in the future, but at the moment he doesn't feel that he's in that position to do that. I.e., I don't think he feels he's at the right club. I can see Dybala at Barcelona or Real Madrid, and that's always been the hint with him. So, I mean, if United could pull that off, it'd be great. But let's not forget, Juventus weren't happy that we got Pogba off them. So I think it might be a step too far, and I'd be very happy with Griezmann. But maybe Griezmann will go to Barcelona and we'll get Dybala. We'll have to wait and see about that. But bringing it back to Manchester United, because people might not be aware of some of the things that were said today. Some really, really interesting quotes. United coming out fighting, I would say, Rodney. I had a few. I don't think we've ever spoken about Chris Smalling before I come to what Mourinho said. But Smalling directly asked about these quotes by Gareth Southgate, which I felt were appalling at the time. Basically, Gareth Southgate is dropping Smalling because he said he wants players who can bring the ball out from the back, and then he's picking people like Gary Cahill. But Smalling, for me, this season for United, no matter what anybody thinks about him, what has he done wrong? He's been absolutely fantastic. And without him, Jones, we know, is injury prone. Bailly, injury prone. Without Smalling, I think we'd have been in a lot of trouble. I had somebody have the cheek to me to say, I'd said, where would we be at Smalling at lunchtime? And somebody said, we'd be about 5 points closer to City. And to which I replied, I said, we've dropped 8 points this season. 2 at Stoke because of Phil Jones. 3 at Chelsea because of Phil Jones, and 3 at Huddersfield because of Lindelof. It's not Smalling's fault, whether you like him or not. Fantastic this season.
He's not. To be honest, he has been quite steady this year, and I think John's, apart from the mistakes that you've highlighted, have been quite steady under Mourinho. Players, I think we talked about it before, and saying that those are players that we would have said last year not good enough for Manchester United. We need to bring in new defenders who know what to do. But I mean, Smalling, he could feel aggrieved for the comments because, you know, there aren't very, very few English centre-backs that can bring the ball out as confidently and start attacks. I'd say probably, and not to blow smoke up City, John Stones is one.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to question his quality. He's playing for the end, but he's a comfortable player on the ball. But I wouldn't have thrown Smalling under the bus because, like you say, you know, you've got Cahill, and who's the other? I mean, is the new centre back that played in the friendly? Is it Maguire? Is it Maguire?
Yeah, Leicester lad, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's only been at Leicester this season. So, what has he been the ball playing centre back that none of the top 5 clubs missed? You know, that none of them saw that he's got a position in England, and he's going to be the next big thing.
I mean, Smalling, just to jump in, I think Smalling's probably ended his England career, but I think, you know, Southgate had already ended it for him, and I love what he came out and said. He basically said, look, at the end of the day, what I do at Manchester United matters, and I'm a centre-back who's been at Manchester United for a long time. I've won a lot of trophies, and, you know, to be told that I can't bring the ball out from the back, well, what am I doing at Manchester United? And I think it put Southgate well and truly in his back, and he's made him sit down a bit, because Southgate is an idiot for that comment, and it was bang out of Mr. Unprofessional. And then this was from the press conference with Mourinho. Smalling was alongside him, and I think it was a great double team. They'd make a great tag team. Smalling softened it up by saying Southgate's a clown, and then Mourinho weighed in with this whole injections on Phil Jones stuff that United were never informed about, never asked permission about. They gave him 6 injections to play in a friendly, and he lasted 15 minutes. I mean, England are just amateur.
Yeah, I mean, that alone is ridiculous. 6 injections for a friendly. you know, the manager's every right to comment on that. But Smalling, I think he's handled it well. I think he's handled it in terms of coming out and commenting on what was said about him. I think he's handled it well. So it may be that at some point in the future, Southgate comes back and says, "We need you in the squad."
I tell you what, though, there's a lot of people in the live comments. I still don't trust Smalling. He's got a mistake in him. I think he's a divider, and it's a really weird thing because I normally always would be. You're not changing my mind about Fellaini. Phil Jones will always let us down because he'll get injured and he's got a mistake in him. But Smalling, ever since that sending off against City a couple of years ago, I've always stood by him. And I must admit, from what I've seen of him in interviews, he comes across as a bit thick, and that's totally unfair. It's totally unfair to say that, but he does. But as a footballer, because that's what I judge him on, I've always quite liked him. He's very good in the air, which we haven't got many people of, and he scored that goal at the weekend. He's quick. Yes, he's got a mistake in him, but most centre-backs have. I just think without him this season, I think people really need to give him a bit of credit. Because without him this season, who are you going to play? Lindelof. Well, Lindelof's only just starting to look ready. Rojo's been out injured. Blind, you know, not got the pace or the height. Twansibi's never going to play him. So I think people underestimate just how valuable Smalling's been for us this season. And, you know, he's definitely not first choice. No. I'm not saying he's first choice centre-back. But as backup centre-back, I think he's probably one of the best in the Premier League. Name me a club who's got someone like Chris Smalling who can come in, score goals, run the back four. You know, I've been very impressed with him and I think he deserves a bit of credit. We're not saying he's going to start, but as a backup centre-back, he's exactly what you want.
Yeah, I think in terms of the formation as well, I think we're playing a flat back four. He looks more isolated at times. But I think in the back three, when he's got two other centre-backs alongside him, he looks slightly... he does look more comfortable on the ball. And in terms of the mistakes, well, they've been down to Jones this season, not Smalling. So
yeah. We've lost 6 points, 5 points because of Jones, 3 because of Lindelof. Simple as that. So you could in fact, you know what, Rodney, just to be fair there, and I'm not slagging Phil Jones off because he's been very good this season, but actually, we've if you want to be really harsh, we've lost 8 points this season. They're all down to Phil Jones. 2 at Stoke for falling on his arse from that brilliant save from De Gea, the resulting corner. 3 at Chelsea for going on a stadium tour and leaving Morata and leaving Smalling and Bay with too much to do. And actually, who was the lad who went off injured after 20 minutes and we had to bring Lindelof on? Phil Jones. So indirectly, he's, you know, and I like Phil Jones. He's been good this season, but actually, if we're going to play blame games, Jones has cost us all the points this season. Yeah,
I mean, for me, there are moments when I looked at Jones and thought, "What are you doing?" But again, the comments linked to Smalling at the time when he was dropped, and this is when you talk about Gareth Southgate making those comments. If that was Mourinho, they literally would have hung him. If he'd have said that at any event, they would have hung him and said, "No, you can't do that. You're hanging the players out to dry. X, Y, Z. You know, it's not. You shouldn't do that as a manager." But the England manager, he can do it, and everyone says, "Yeah, he's okay."
There's a contribution here from Darian Jones. I think we'll keep it towards the end, Darian, because we always like to talk about something a little bit off topic at the end anyway. We're more than happy to do that. So he says, off topic, but I'm hearing rumours coming out of Cardiff that Giggs is waiting in the wings to take over from Warnock if Cardiff City get promotion. Well, we'll talk about Giggs and his managerial attributes at the end of the show then. But Mourinho did his press conference at 5 o'clock tonight. I did my preview at 1 o'clock, so I've done my predicted team and all that. You can watch the preview after this if you want. It's only about 10 minutes long and it's got the predicted team and everything. But one thing he did come out and say is that Zlatan will be on the bench and he'll try and get him on if he can. Which, to be honest, I'm not too fussed about. But I don't know where you stand, Rodney. I don't want to see Paul Pogba playing against Basel. I just think Watford, Arsenal, City are our biggest games. We'll play Brighton at the weekend where Pogba should play. Then we've got Watford midweek. Then we've got Arsenal. Then we've got City. I don't see any reason to be playing Paul Pogba tomorrow when he can play Fellaini or Herrera.
I can understand why you say that, but I disagree in a sense because I think because of the injury, I think he does need to kind of get some game time in his legs. And he did play a lot longer than we thought he would at the weekend. And even if he only got 45 minutes against Basel, just to control the game, just to make sure that we don't concede 45 minutes and then make changes then and bring on Fellaini or Herrera, then for me that wouldn't be necessarily a bad thing. Uh, but I don't see any necessarily harm against him having 45 minutes because, like most players, you want to play in the Champions League. I know that we've more or less qualified, um, but I think he'd still need some games, a little bit of running out, a little run out to kind of stretch his legs, not damage his hamstring, but just then generally, time on the pitch with the ball at his feet so that he can get into a groove and come Saturday just be totally focused. Not that he hasn't been, but yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing him for 45 minutes, but not for the whole game.
Okay. I think he can get the time he needs against Brighton. I'm just worried because he did the hamstring in a Champions League game, didn't he?
Yeah.
Was it against Basel he did it?
I think it was actually.
Yeah, I do believe in fate, and I just would not have it. And I don't think the pitch is particularly good either. I just think if Pogba plays tomorrow, he plays brilliant for 80 minutes, and then he loses his hamstring, we'll be like, why did we play him? I just think Brighton is more than enough. We'll win that game. He can have a run around Old Trafford, 80 minutes, and then I'm also a bit worried about burnout because there's 4 games in like 10 days for United, so I wouldn't have him anywhere near it. But I've got a funny feeling he will play. I'm just a bit concerned about it.
Yeah.
Just want to read this. I was just having a look around. I always have a look around when we're live, and I've got a guest on. So Griezmann's been asked whether he regretted not. Well, he's not. I mean, the way. What's he supposed to do? Come out and say I did regret it. But he was booed off the pitch by Atletico fans at the weekend, and he was asked by French TV channel Telefoot about whether he regretted staying at Atletico Madrid. To which he obviously said, "I do not regret staying at Atletico. It was my choice. I'm happy with my choice. Even though I have gone 7 games without scoring, I will score again soon." And then he was asked about whether he'd be leaving in January, to which he said no. In addition, Diego Costa and Vitola will come in, so we'll try to keep the team high enough. These 2 reinforcements will be good. Is there an exit agreement? I did not speak about that with the president. I didn't express myself very well. It's like the other day with the game. Yes or no when they asked, would you like to play with Mbappe and Neymar? I answered yes, but that does not mean I want to go to PSG. So, one step forward, one step back, I think, in relation to that. If anyone understands what Griezmann's on about, fair play. But that will take care of itself. January will take care of itself. We've not spoken since last week. Obviously, United won comfortably at the weekend against Newcastle. I was very happy about it. I thought the performance was brilliant. I thought Pogba's return made a big difference. I expect tomorrow night, Basel were doing the watch-along. Obviously, hopefully, the positives for me is that I think hopefully Martial will start. I'm really hoping Luke Shaw starts because I was surprised to see him on the bench at the weekend. A little bit more time from Zlatan. All about getting game time in people's legs. And then Brighton at the weekend, hopefully another performance, and then the real business starts. That Watford game next week, midweek, is going to be tough. We need to win it. Then Arsenal on the Saturday, tough. We need to win it. And then City after that. But I do feel personally that if we don't beat Watford and Arsenal, we will be probably double points behind City, and then it becomes almost mission impossible anyway.
Yeah, looking ahead to for me, the ones that stick out definitely, I would say Watford is a tougher game than the Arsenal game. I think Watford have really put themselves about a Manchester United team that previously would have been slightly fragile in the middle without Fellaini and Pogba. So with Pogba coming back, and I understand why you don't want him to play tomorrow to be ready for those games, but I still think that that game is definitely important, and it would be encouraging for him to have some game time tomorrow, because that Watford game, I hold that more in terms of the win. That is more important than the Arsenal game for me, because the Arsenal game, both teams will kind of match up, and it will be dependent upon a moment of magic, upon a bit of brilliance, a pass. But the Watford game, you're going to have to turn up and fight, pretty much like the Huddersfield. And if we turn up like we did against Huddersfield, it won't end well.
Yeah. I think it's a really, obviously, barring any slips of Huddersfield proportions, we should be winning these. Well, tomorrow night, all we need is a point, and then we qualify top of the group. The most important thing for United tomorrow night, just to get it in your heads, is we can't play the kids tomorrow night. I've heard a few people saying that in the comments of our preview that we did earlier. We're not playing the kids tomorrow. We can't play the kids tomorrow. We're away from home. Basel have actually done quite well in the group, and if we lose, we've not qualified. So we've got to get a result tomorrow. I would rest some players, but we've got to play a team good enough to get a result. A draw will mean we qualify and we're top of the group. We play CSK Moscow at home, final Champions League game between Arsenal and City. You don't want any of your first teamers playing in that. Play the kids then. Just keep everyone fresh for City. But tomorrow night, don't get beat. Saturday, routine win against Brighton. I'm not disrespecting Brighton, but come on. Routine win against Brighton. And then the real business starts. Watford the week away, Arsenal after that. And that's where it starts for me. And that's when we'll learn. And that's where I think some of these... I mean, I saw a comment at the weekend, Rodney, that, you know, all the Mourinho haters sit down now. We did shows over the international break. That they're not going to, you know... I respect people who've got an opinion, and there are people out there who don't want Mourinho at United. And I know for a fact they haven't sat down. They haven't changed their mind because we've beat Newcastle. They've probably respectfully gone a little bit quiet, but they're waiting. They're waiting. Yeah. And whatever we do tomorrow night, and even if we beat Brighton 6-0, we lose to Watford and draw with Arsenal, and we play City and we're 14 points behind them, the knives will be out again. So it's almost irrelevant what we do in the next two games. To some, I think we will be judged on Watford and Arsenal. And our Premier League season basically rests on it, I suppose.
Yeah, it definitely does. And I think in terms of the Mourinho haters or the Mourinho outers, they're probably busy searching Google for the next, you know, sharp edge they can throw at him, or mistake or comment that they can put their beady eyes on and try and pull him down. For me, there are certain things that are said and done by mainstream media about Manchester United and Mourinho that it's just to sell papers, really. You know, it's just to sell papers. And and you know, we've got one of the best managers in the world. He's in the top 5. He's at our club. We're the biggest club in the world. Obviously, you know, print media, online media will be thinking, right, what can we do? What can we say? Oh, let's say something about Jose. You know, and we know that will happen at any point in time. And for me, the result at the weekend, brilliant. It made a lot of people sit down. I was surprised at the lineup. I was totally surprised at the lineup. And I just thought, whoa, you know, this is a lineup that we would have relished, you know, last season, the season before, and the season before that. So whatever's happened with him behind the scenes or with the players, and no one will know, or if it's just his decision, good for him, and it was good for the club, and it was good for the fans.
I'm just having a quick look at the European games, and Liverpool 3-0 up in Spain against Sevilla in the first half. They'll be acting like they've won the cup at the moment, but yeah, I mean, this is a fantastic stat. It was tweeted out on the United Stand Twitter account this morning that however long Sir Alex Ferguson was at Old Trafford, decades, and the best sporting manager there's ever been. Mourinho's been here 15 months and he's already broken the record for the longest unbeaten run in the Premier League at home. You know, but nobody talks about that. You know, it's a hidden stat that a few United accounts, including the United Stand, have tweeted out to sort of fight back against the propaganda against Mourinho that exists in the written press and the media. And we do, as United fans, we have to fight back against it, because there's a lot of things that do get ignored about Mourinho. I mean, his win rate at Old Trafford is better than Pochettino at Spurs. Yeah, Spurs are fantastic. He scored more goals in the Premier League than Klopp this season. A lot more. Yep. But Liverpool are far more entertaining. You know, we've conceded less than anybody, I think, in the Premier League, and one of the least in Europe. You know, there's lots and lots of positives about Manchester United. And I personally implore those people who are against Jose just to, you know, the brilliant thing about Mourinho, and he got into a bit of a head-to-head with Conte, didn't he? Because Conte, the minute Morata was injured, was crying like a baby. And Mourinho commented about it and said, I've not moaned about anything. I'm not going to moan about anything. And he said it last week when Pogba was back after the Newcastle game. He said, I purposely didn't want to moan about it because I knew he was a massive loss. And I knew everyone would see he was a massive loss when he comes back and remembered what he was like before. But when he's injured, I can't do anything about it. What does moaning do? And he's spot on. When we had Pogba, up until Pogba got injured, we were playing brilliant. We were beating teams 3-4-0. He comes back, we beat the team 4-1. I'm sure we'll do the same to Brighton on Saturday. You know, I don't like it. I don't know about you, Rodney. I don't like the fact that we're so reliant on Pogba. But as many people have said in the live comments before, I think George said it last night. Look, Take De Bruyne out of Man City. Take Hazard out of Chelsea. Take Messi out of Barcelona. Take Ronaldo out of Real Madrid. Every good team has a player that is pretty much, you know, super class, and it's hard to replace them. I think United's problem for me is that when Pogba's injured, the drop down is too big. Whether it's Herrera or Fellaini, it's too big. It's like from 10 out of 10 to 6 out of 10. We probably do need to bring an 8 out of 10. We can't actually bring somebody in who's Pogba, because I don't think there is anyone like Pogba. But I think we do need to have a better replacement, because when we missed him for that 2 months, it could be there's 2 months that we look back in May and go, that's where the title went.
Yeah, I mean, you've mentioned the 2 players like Fellaini, who I and you said we never really wanted in the United squad, and he's now become quite, let's say, to some fans, useful and understood. And Herrera as a player who I said many times I don't understand, but the 2 of them together they don't make one Pogba. No. That's the reality. They don't, you know, but for 2 for 1, that's a 2 for 1 deal that no one would buy. So you know, I'm with you. When Pogba's not around, the inability of the players that we have to control the game or add that spark of magic is definitely missing. Now, we could say we've got a player that's on loan somewhere that might have added that spark, but he's playing in Spain with Valencia. So we'll never know what could have been if he stayed with the United squad while Pogba was injured. But, you know, considering the injury, these are the realities. What happens in January and in the summer is vital, because we're going to pin our hopes on this young man bringing us glory in the future. That's great. But he needs help, and he can't do it on his own. We've got Zlatan, who's coming towards the end of his career, who is still world class when he's on the ball. He's still able to kind of slow the play down. And when I say slow the play down, not for United, he literally slows down the opposition defense, because they don't think, what is he going to do with the ball? It's almost that Matrix moment when Neo says no, and everyone stops. That's how good he is. We don't have anyone else beyond those 2 in the squad to say, when they're not ready, who can we bring in? Martial's good, Rashford is good, but they're not quite there yet. And we need someone else to come in either in January or in the summer, because if he gets injured again, like you say, we are definitely in trouble. We can kiss the league goodbye.
I do agree. Apparently Allardyce is going to Everton. Poor Everton says shoot neutrality. It is weird, isn't it? You know, you look at West Ham with Bilic and Everton with Koeman. I certainly think they're better off than Allardyce and Moyes, but that's the madness of modern football for you. Let's have a look at some of the comments. Adrian says there's Mourinho haters everywhere. Look, if people don't like Mourinho and you're a United fan, that's your opinion. I'm sure you've got your own reasons for that. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong, because that's not what the United stand's all about. I totally disagree with you personally, and I hope he proves you wrong. I knew with Van Gaal pretty quickly that there were certain things that happened and it was like, no. I knew with Moyes from the start, no, and I've been right. And I do believe Mourinho is the right man. And, you know, I'm going to get it wrong very publicly if I'm wrong, but I really do believe he's going to get this right. Liverpool scored 3 scrappy goals, says Shaya. You see, you lay a trap and you walked right into it, Shaya. There is a United fan watching Liverpool. You boo him. What? Boo him.
What?
Block him. Block him. I'm only joking. Don't block him, mods. But you know what? Don't come on the live comments here and admit. I tell you what. We were doing the 24-hour stream at the weekend, Rodney, and Xander's just about done himself terminal damage on this channel because we watched Arsenal's 24 hours is a long time to get through. So
I know,
we watched,
you did well, Mark. Well done.
We watched Arsenal Spurs at lunchtime, and then the 3 o'clock kickoffs, I was just monitoring them all. He was, because he lives in Spain, he was watching Liverpool versus whoever they beat, Southampton, wasn't it? Salah scores, and he goes, "Oh, Salah, what a goal!" And my face just went, "What are you doing? What are you doing on a Manchester United channel celebrating a Liverpool goal?" You just go, Liverpool have scored, we move on. You know, we don't have any of that. That's something I will moan about. We don't watch Liverpool. We don't say Liverpool are doing quite well. That's not how it works on here. Kieran Burns says, Mark and Rodney, if we lose to Watford, bye-bye Premier League. First 2 years, my backside. I know what he's talking about there. I've always said that. Mourinho wins it in the first 2 years. Yeah, it's a struggle. It's just going to be a struggle.
It's not too big a gap though. It's not too big a gap.
No, it isn't. I really do believe, and it's going to be hard. And if we can be 8 points, because they're going to win their next 3. If we can be 8 points behind them at Old Trafford when we play them, we'll beat them.
Yeah.
5 points, no matter what. They've got to play Spurs after us, but even if they beat Spurs, 5 points is doable. We've got to be 8 points ahead. We've got to be 8 points. And as you said, Rodney, and I'm thinking about it all the time, Watford away and Arsenal away, if you take 6 points from them, it doesn't matter whether you're first or not. That is fantastic form. And it's going to be a big ask, a really big ask. But and it's amazing, really, that we're saying that already just because we lost to Huddersfield. I mean, Huddersfield is the result that but that would only put us 5 points behind them. I mean, it's just City have been on a very, very good run. It's a juggernaut run, and it's very hard to keep up with that. So I don't really feel the need to sort of sort of blame Mourinho when he's still building. Whereas I think Pep's pretty much got what he wants. Let's have a look what else people are saying. Sally Devil Red Mitchell says, if the board give Mourinho what he's asking for regarding the team and he fails, then we can judge him, which I think is a very good point. Rakitic, Barkley are good options if Pogba's injured, says Shaka Philip. I mean, is there anybody in your mind that we should bring in to sort of be that backup player to Pogba? Because we've both said that it really isn't Fellaini and Herrera, and Matic is the one to play with Pogba. I think everybody, even my cat, agrees that McTominay's not the player to sort of come in and be Pogba. So we've got to bring somebody in. You're never going to get a light for light Pogba because nobody that tall, physical fitness, speed takes people on. He's just a one-off. But I quite like Barkley. I know a lot of people will be Barkley. Like, you've said Smalling and Barkley in the same show. But you know, I know he's a divider, but I do think Barkley's got the potential. Dele Alli says Mini Diamond. Dele Alli would be good, but can Dele Alli play in the midfield too?
Yeah, I don't see Dele Alli joining United, and I think Dele Alli he plays in a much more advanced position for Spurs, a lot closer to the striker than he does in terms of being in midfield.
Nainggolan says Subamp, yeah.
Nainggolan, yeah. I mean, there are so many players, and we've talked about probably half of them during the summer. For me, we didn't see the Matic deal coming until quite late, and I think Mourinho would be someone that if he was going to bring anyone in to supplement the squad, not take over Pogba's position, it would be to bring someone in who understands the league and has played in the Premier League. If Ross Barkley is available and willing, then I wouldn't be against the club putting a bid in for him. I see nothing wrong with him as a player. He had a bit of a bad spell and fallen out with the hierarchy at Everton. He needs to go and play football somewhere else, definitely in a World Cup year. He's English and he's young enough, so
I think it'd be perfect. I mean, look, you know, I get what people's problems is with Barkley, and Zach Rance has just said Ross Barkley's the second tier version of Pogba, and you're exactly right. I don't think he'd come into play, but there's very few. I mean, the greatness of Pogba is that you can put him in the midfield too, and he'll do all the attacking and the defending. You know, Dele Alli, people mentioning him, he's good going forward, but he can't play in the midfield too. Nainggolan, I don't think he can get up and down anymore anyway. He's 30 and Serie A is a lot slower, and also he's just signed a new contract at Roma, so I'd like Nainggolan, but it's not going to happen. Ross Barkley, he's only 23, 24. He's Premier League proven. He's about 6 foot. In fact, he might be a little bit taller than that. He's strong physically. He's quick. He likes running at players. He's got a good delivery. As a backup, I think he'd be really, really good for United. I think Ross Barkley is a 6 out of 10 player that can be a 9 out of 10. And I think Mourinho can take him up to that level. But Spurs want him. You know, people say I want Pochettino over Mourinho, but then they're like, Barkley's rubbish. But Pochettino wants Barkley. So it's like, you know, I think Barkley would be perfect, and he's cheap. And as bad as that sounds for United, I think cheap is a word that United like the word of. And if we got him, I'd be very, very happy with it. But I accept, like Smalling, that, you know, some people will disagree. A lot of people on about Dendoncker and Anderlecht. Again, I've seen good things about him, but is that what United need to do? I think Dendoncker realistically would be more of an Everton signing. Let's see how he goes. It's a big step for him to come to United.
I mean, there's also the issue of what's happening at Bayern and Vidal. I think
Yeah.
since they sacked Ancelotti, old manager has returned. Some of the older players have not been able to get into the team. Vidal is one of them. He's not getting as much game time. So would he be a player that we could put a bid in for? And we were originally, say, linked but interested in him before he left Juve to join Bayern. So he would be ideal in a United midfield, and he's used to playing with Pogba anyway. So, a battle-hardened centre midfield player would go down a treat at the Theatre of Dreams, definitely.
Crunk King 232, Enzonzi from Sevilla. We mentioned him in the summer. He's good. Yeah. He is good, but this is the problem with Pogba. It's the balance. Enzonzi is good, but he'd be very defensive like Matic. Well, not very defensive, but he'd be like Matic. You wouldn't get that driving forward runs. So we'd become a bit like we were for the last 2 months, where we haven't got that link between midfield and defence. The brilliance of Pogba, and I'll keep saying it, is you get the defensive side, but you get that attacking side as well. And that's why there's very few people that can do what he does. And that's why he's so important for us. Even Tony Kroos, as Agent Paul said, Kroos would actually be good. He can get forward and he can do the defensive side of things, as can Modric. But whether you can get those sort of players, I don't know. Andres Pereira, says Lewis Kristen. Well,
that player. What a quality player.
And a United player, but I just think that's going to end badly, to be honest. What about Frank Kessie, says T-Dog Man. Another player I like, but Milan have got him wrapped up, so that's not going to happen. Tillemans would have been perfect, says Abdi Ali. I think Tillemans is a bit like Dendoncker. From Anderlecht to Monaco, see how you get on. And I don't think he's tearing up trees, to be honest. Thiago Alcantara, says SLJR. Well, we should have got Thiago. Moyes messed that one up. But
we got Fellaini instead.
Yeah, we did. Renato Sanchez. Well, let's see what he does at Swansea. Mourinho obviously didn't fancy him. I just did want to bring this up personally. I was just seeing if there's any questions coming in, so please do fire them into the live comments. But I did want to throw this one up because it was something I saw today that apparently the one player that Sir Alex Ferguson really is excited about at Manchester United is Marcus Rashford, and that is because he never really produced a striker. Obviously, Scholes, Beckhams, Giggs, Neville's. He produced every position from the youth, but he never produced an out-and-out striker. And I remember saying that when we got Rashford, that we haven't really produced an out-and-out striker at United for a long, long time. And in Rashford, we do have that.
We did get Danny Welbeck.
Yeah, Danny Welbeck. In fact, Danny Welbeck was mentioned in the article, but it sort of was respectful and said Welbeck nearly did it, but not quite. I mean, whatever. We've sold Arsenal a good in there, because to be fair to Welbeck, I liked his effort, and he actually never used to get injured for United, but since he's gone to Arsenal, he's always injured, his agent Welbeck. But in relation to Rashford, bringing it to that, I have detected, and I don't know what, I've not been to Old Trafford this year. You obviously have, Rodney. I've detected a bit of impatience around Rashford this season, which sort of baffles me as well. I think for a lad who's just turned 20, I think he's doing exactly, he was never going to be Rooney. He was never going to be that sort of a, world star at 18, 19. And they come around every 20 years. So I like Rashford. I think he's an incredible talent, like Billy Smith says. And I think he's got a really good set of players around him to learn. Martial the flair, Lukaku the strength, Zlatan the class. I mean, as a young striker, what 3 better players to have around him? But what's your thoughts on Rashford at the moment? Because some people, I've heard United fans say, no, he's just going to be another Danny Welbeck.
Yeah, I mean, no, those that I've discussed his progress while I've been to Old Trafford. There are moments when he does things in the game that some may feel frustrated with. Sometimes when he's running, he doesn't look up, and his final ball, or he doesn't release the ball. But I've always said, and I think I might have said to you previously, he's a young man who's learning. And when we talk about playing all 3 together, Lukaku, Martial, and Rashford, there are going to be moments when they make mistakes in the game. They're not always going to have that killer instinct and have the decision making that a senior pro in their mid-20s will make, or who's played the game so many times and like clockwork will know what to do. So he's just turned 20. It's still time for him to develop. But they have, some fans have grumbled a little bit because he doesn't like I say, he doesn't look up. And you know the funny thing is, the goal that was scored by Pogba, when he ran up and nodded the ball across the goal, and everyone goes, "Oh, look at the run." I had to actually think for a minute. There was a moment in the Chelsea game when the cross came over and he closed his eyes.
Yeah, yeah.
And do you know what I mean? And I'm thinking he's been told, you closed your eyes, so you can't do that again. Because at that moment, if he'd have nodded the ball across the goal, Lukaku was free and he would have scored. So if anyone wants to go back to that moment, obviously Lukaku's looking at him thinking, I need the ball now, but he's closed his eyes. So, a few games on, he's learned from that moment. When the ball comes over, if I can't score, I've got to lay it off for someone else. So, there are moments when you think he needs to do the right thing and he doesn't, but because of his mistakes, he's looking back and he's making progress he's actually reflecting and saying, I can't do that again.
I think it's a brilliant point, Rodney. I've not heard anybody say that, and it is spot on. We all know against Chelsea he closed his eyes in a really good position. And at the weekend, when he did that, I nearly was just about to say, what the bloody hell are you doing? You're 3 yards out. Why didn't you score? But then you see the brilliance of the layoff is just class. I mean, under pressure like that, in front of 70-odd thousand fans, you cushion a header into the path of Pogba perfectly for him to tap it home when he could have just gone for the header himself. It was very close to the goal. Like you say, that's improvement, and he does put his head down. I've seen him a couple of times this season where he's put his head down and blasted it. Look at Martial, gets his head up, Mr. Smooth. So there's a great comment from Carl Watkins saying he's trying too hard at the moment, but he's a 20-year-old lad. I mean, I look at Martial and Pogba last year, and I think they had very mixed, almost poor seasons because they were both trying too hard. Martial trying to run past too many players, lose the ball most of the time. Pogba holding onto the ball for too long, getting pressed and losing the ball. Over the summer, Mourinho's obviously drilled into them. And you see them both this year. Pogba and Martial this season are just immense. Pogba's not getting caught in possession, and Martial, the great thing about Martial for me is not the goals and the assists, it's the ball retention. Sometimes he'll just get rid of it, sometimes he'll run at people, but he's keeping the ball a lot more. Rashford just needs to get there with that, and we all know Rashford's big problem is the final ball, whether it's the shot, the pass, the free kick, the corner. That's Rashford's problem. But I think when he gets there, and I'm old enough, as are you, Rodney, to have seen plenty of players developing. He's just turned 20. He works really hard. His ethic is fantastic. I think 2 years' time will be, those who are worried about him will be like, why did I worry? Because he is in that development stage still, and he will learn.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about him being one of England's main strikers at 20, he's just turned 20, and England like saying, yeah, you're first on the team sheet. They're not even kind of thinking, well, we might put you on a sub or we're going to play you out on the wing. They'll say, right, you're main striker along with the other guy from Tottenham, his name has escaped me right now, Harry Kane. So Rashford's got plenty of time to develop, and he is learning, and he will simply get better because he's a player that reflects on what he's done previously and think, right, that didn't work. But the one thing I don't like about him, and to say don't like is a strong word, don't like, is the free kicks.
Yeah,
I'm like, someone needs to say, unless you're doing that 10 out of 10 times in training, you need to step away.
I wouldn't worry about it. We'll have Zlatan back on free kicks now, which for me, I love Zlatan, but I hate him on free kicks. It's just a total waste of time. But maybe that's a Dybala or Griezmann or Pogba back actually is welcome, because we're rubbish at free kicks, and it's another area like corners that we need to address. Please do drop a like on the video. Tuesday night's always a little bit different, topical, but then we'll delve into other stuff with Rodney as well. So please do drop a like on the video. Loving all the comments that everyone's throwing up. Talking of which, let's talk about that one from Darian Jones now. Now, he said that he's heard a rumour that Giggs could be the next Cardiff City manager if they get promoted to the Premier League, because Neil Warnock's the current manager. He won't want to manage in the Premier League because he's getting on a bit. Darian made a contribution, so we've got to comment on it. Pratesh, we will put a poll up. I'll do that actually now while Rodney answers this. But Giggs, I mean, every now and again Giggs pops up, and my attitude is Ryan Giggs was a fantastic player for Manchester United. I don't really have anything to say about him as a manager because I've seen nothing that makes me think he is a manager, and I'd like to see him managing, but I think there's a reason he can't get jobs at the moment. I wasn't impressed with Giggs when he was when Manchester United manager. There was a fly on the wall documentary, and he allowed cameras in the room, and I thought, you know, he's a bit. I don't want to be horrible to a club legend, but he just doesn't. I just don't think he's a. Yeah, he doesn't inspire me. I think the way he talks is just not inspiring. I don't think he'll ever be a successful manager. Gary Neville's quite inspiring, and he failed at Valencia, so I don't think Gary Neville's got it in him. But sorry, Ryan Giggs has got it in him.
Yeah, you know, to me, whether it's Giggs or any other top flight footballer whose name is linked to a manager's position, without them actually one doing their coaching badges and two going down to the lower leagues and earning their stripes. Because you played in top flight football for the best part of 20 years, it doesn't mean that you're going to be given a manager's job. It doesn't. The thing is, you know, Tony Pulis has been sacked, but Tony Pulis will get a job before Ryan Giggs, because clubs know what Tony Pulis will offer, even though they say he plays boring football, even though they say that he only defends. No one knows what Ryan Giggs is as a manager. He's never actually put himself in a position within a team that's really struggling to say, right, this is what I'm about.
It just stuns me that and I want to ask you about that. It stuns me that the rumour is that he feels hard done by, that he wasn't given the Manchester United job because they reneged on a promise that Moyes would have the job and then groom Giggs, which I'm sure probably was said to him, because that was the fantasy world, Lollipop Lane, Gingerbread House vision. When Sir Alex Ferguson left, we'll get Moyes in, Giggs will understudy him, and then Giggs will take it. But I just think, you know,
sounds like Willy Wonka.
On what planet should we have ever given Giggs the job?
Honestly, that sounds like the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Willy Wonka goes to the store or the factory and they promise. There's no way that you can give someone that kind of job. They need to earn. This is what I don't understand. He's earned his status as a legend playing for Manchester United. He's won so many trophies. The fans will never forget the goals that he scored. But no one in the club can actually say, we're going to give you the job as the next manager. Why? We listened to Sir Alex Ferguson, our most successful manager ever, who told us, put faith in our new manager. And we went, okay, we will. And then he took us down a path. It was a dead end, and he literally beat us to death with boring football. No. Anyone in the back room that said that Ryan Giggs could be next manager, they should be told, do not speak in public, ever. None of the old team that have gone off to work in media, whether it be Scholes, Ferdinand, Giggs, any of them, if you're going to talk about Manchester United and you played in that system for so long, and this is what I said to you last week when we talk about the Manchester United way, they played in Manchester United. They're not coaching anyone there. They're not actually part of the academy to say, I'm going to give back to these young kids in any way, shape or form. So Ryan Giggs cannot feel hard done by. But Ryan Giggs was allowed to stay on longer than he should have. Because I'm sure if Ferguson was playing the manager now, he would have probably said, well, you can stay on, but you can be in the backroom staff. Any other club would kind of say, right, enough's enough. Even clubs down in London, Chelsea, they've got legend status players there and they say, right, time for you to move on. Talk about you being a manager, it doesn't materialise.
Well, so, Chelsea would never give John Terry the job, would they?
But in the press, you get those kind of stories that come up for particular players, whether it was Shearer at Newcastle or you just think, exactly. I mean, seriously, as much as people like Paul Ince are not necessarily looked upon favourably by but I respect him because he actually went down levels to manage teams, unfavourable teams that you thought, what, he's managing now, really? You know, Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. You know, when these guys have like legendary status in the clubs when they played, they went down levels to manage because they actually wanted to be a manager. It wasn't about the label that was attached to them. They wanted to manage. So he can't feel hard done by at all. Not at all. You made me get upset now, Mark, talking about him. I'm so.
I sort of do agree that. I mean, I love Ryan Giggs. He scored one of the best goals I've ever seen in '99. I was talking about it last week down the pub. I said, you know, we were talking about that '99 treble side, and you know, I think people forget that we were literally going out with the last kick of the game. It was a penalty, Bergkamp, Phil Neville again. Yeah. And, you know, Schmeichel saved it. And then 10 men against a very good Arsenal side, and Giggs pulled that out. And, you know, name written on the cup. I'd love to relive that season again because it was just fantasy. And Giggs was a big part of that. And you know, Gary Neville's a great player, Scholes, you know, but they've all been great. But I think when you retire, you retire from football. You're known as a great footballer, and you shouldn't be getting jobs just on your name as a player, you know. And I don't know. I hope Giggs proves me wrong, because if he did turn out to be, you know, a fantastic manager, then yeah, I'm sure he would want to manage Manchester United. But I agree. I think he's got to go off and do it elsewhere, and maybe it will be Cardiff. But I don't know. There's something about Giggs I just don't think. A bit like the Chris Smalling thing I was on about before. I don't know enough about him away from football, but it doesn't strike me as, you know, a genius, to be polite. But maybe I'm wrong.
If he were to go to Cardiff and work alongside Neil Warnock, or in the backroom staff, and say, right, I'm here to learn from you, I wouldn't see a problem with that. And I think Neil Warnock's been around the block long enough to know that he's a manager who's seen many different things and brought teams up with a little bit of fighting spirit. He could pass something on to him, but just because you played at Manchester United doesn't mean you're going to be a great manager. It doesn't work. That doesn't work.
No, I agree. I'm struggling with the poll, but if you would prefer Dybala over Griezmann, drop a like on the video and let's see if it goes up any drastically. I'm intrigued. So like the video if you'd prefer Dybala over Griezmann, and it's on 333 at the moment, so we'll see if it goes up drastically.
Well, I've liked it.
You've liked it, yeah. I'd still prefer Griezmann, but you know, we'll see what happens with it. We'll think what happens. Ross is on the comments. If people don't know, Ross is actually called Hazard90T, I think it is. I was meant to be doing a live stream with Marcus tonight on his channel for Call of Duty, but he's got a bad ear, so we'll play it by ear as to when we do it, but it won't be tonight. I did that on Twitter as well. Oh, actually, hold on. Do like the video anyway, just because you've enjoyed the content, but I think actually if you click the eye in the top hand corner, and I don't know whether this works on phones, it will definitely work on desktop. There should be an eye in the top hand corner. There's the link there for the preview for you to go and watch after this show if you've not seen it. But you can also cast your votes, Griezmann or Dybala, on there, which is great. So the poll is up there and running as well. Okay, well, tomorrow night we've got the watch along. I believe the kickoff, I know what time the kickoff is. I was thinking about this today. None of these silly Europa League kickoffs. It'll be 8:15. So we'll be live at 5:45 with the team news right the way through till full time. No fan cams tomorrow. We couldn't get Flex out to Switzerland, so you know, he wanted to go and get a bit of chocolate for Christmas, but no, but he will be back for Brighton at Old Trafford. And yes, that will be the next show tomorrow night with the watch along. But Rodney, great to have you on. What's your Twitter feed?
It's at Rodney_Cyrus with a C.
There you go. Give him a follow on Twitter, and I think Rodney's even delving into the world of YouTube himself and doing some stuff. So make sure you give him a follow on Twitter, and you can get all the links for his YouTube channel when he's doing stuff, which would be great. Please do drop a like on the video. Really enjoy doing the Tuesday night show with Rodney when there isn't a match. I'm not too sure when we're playing Watford actually. Let me just have a quick look. I know we are playing in midweek. I've got a funny feeling it might be Tuesday, but I can confirm now for you all. Yes, it's next Tuesday at 8 o'clock, so maybe we'll get you on at Wednesday.
That's fine.
But yeah, thanks for calling in, Rodney, and thanks to everybody who's been watching the show. And I will do the show with Marcus. Don't worry, it's him who's chickened out, so I will do the show with him. So thanks everyone. Please keep subscribing. They're ticking on lovely at the moment. We're getting very close to 150,000, which will be great. And tomorrow night for the watch along, join us for that. Hopefully we'll see a little bit more as Zlatan, which is always a pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Avoid Liverpool. I think Tottenham are losing as well. So, but we're back tomorrow. If you've not seen the preview, that went up at 1 o'clock today. So if you're wondering why we didn't talk about Basel, the preview's up. You can click the eye, or you can have a look on the main channel. And don't forget to leave your vote on the poll. And I'll see you all tomorrow. Really enjoyed it. Live comments, absolutely buzzing as per usual. Really enjoyed the show. Great community as ever. And remember, if you want to get yourself one of these lovely Manchester United Sith tops. It's not really a Sith, it just looks a bit like it. The link's in the video description. It will take you straight to the Manchester United page, and it's available worldwide. A lot of people have just asked me about that over the last few days. So thanks everyone. Speak to you all soon, and have a good evening. Thanks for coming on, Rodney.
Thanks, that was good.
It flies by, doesn't it? Every time.
I can't believe the time. It just goes so quickly.
Fantastic comments as per usual.
Yeah.
It's just it just goes too fast, way too fast.
Yeah. How are you feeling?